continue with Mishneh Torah, right? It's Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah in chapter 1 and halacha number 3. And actually, I sent to somebody this halacha, and it's we base our clip on this third halacha, right? About all the clowns that say that God needs you and all of this stupidity. And it says, if one would imagine the none of the entities aside from him exist, he would continue to exist, and the nullification of their existence would not nullify his existence, because all of the other entities required him, and he, blessed be he, does not require them, nor any one of them. Therefore, the truth of this of his being does not resemble the truth of any other being. Right. So here's answer to all of the clowns. Hashem does not need anybody. And I think last time we had was it a question about Hashem being upset if people are not observing the Torah. So it's very interesting, right? So he's like in need of our mitzvahs. Right? That's many Friedman style, of course. So here's this halacha number 3 is the answer to all of them. I mean, all of them, like, of course, Rambam builds up, but he says clearly, right, even nothing is going to exist if you can imagine, so Hashem still exists, right, and he's perfect before or after. Nothing can affect him. So let's see from the beginning and with explanation. If one would imagine that none of the entity aside from him exists, so how is it possible? I imagine that none of the entity beside him exists, right? He would alone continue to exist. Again, if one would imagine that none of the entities aside from Hashem exist, so meaning there is nothing in this physical world, absolutely nothing. So Hashem would still exist. So he does not. You see, we as people, so because of our limitations, we need air, right, to breathe. We need water. We need food to continue exist. We need sun. We have right, all these things, right. We need to live somewhere. We need to take a break. We need to sleep. We need to tend to our needs. But Hashem does not have this. Right, so it's for us. We need some creation in order to continue exist. Hashem does not have all of this. So how to imagine this? If you can imagine, right, that Hashem is still going to exist. So I mean, for us to exist, we need this physical world. For him, he does not need anything. So he alone will continue exist, right, meaning without any limitation. And nullification, right, and the nullification of their existence would not nullify his existence. So meaning if, right, so if Hashem decided to end this world, the world is going to end, but he's going to exist, right? So that's what it means. So he does not depend on this world, right? Even though it says that in Torah, it says that place that Hashem is going to choose to set his name, and he's and he was he minimized himself, his Shekhinah was in a temple. Everything is good. He's a resting place on this earth. It's like all of these things we cannot take it literally, right? So now he had a place in this earth, and now Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, and now he has no place. Even though it says in the prophets, like Shekhinah is without home, right? Hashem does not have a resting place in this earth, so it's like he's wandering with us in exile. But we cannot always take this thing literally. Right? It's on our level, so we understand that he's with us, he's suffering on one hand, but on another hand, he can survive without us. Right? Whether he has a special place in this world or not, in this earth. Okay. So that's That's the answer to all of the clowns, right? So he's going to, even if he nullifies all of the existence, he is not going to be nullified. Okay, so number 8, commentary. There is certain Gentile perspectives which view God's existence as dependent on the world, as it were, comparing the relationship between him and the world. So that existence between the body and the soul. Okay, according to their notion, just as the soul cannot exist without body, God cannot exist without the world. I'm not sure where is it from. Okay, this perspective is totally untenable. A God who dependent on the other entity cannot be God. On a deeper level, Rambam's statement emphasizes that although God is a creator, that dimension does not describe his being. That dimension does not describe his being. Okay. And his existence is not at all dependent on whether our world comes into being or not. In his introduction to the 10th chapter of Sanhedrin, in his commentary to the Mishnah, Rambam groups together the concepts contained in this and the first 2 halachas as the first of the 13 principles of faith. Okay. So let's go over it. So now again, number 8. So we're going to split into a few pieces. Okay, so from the beginning. There are certain Gentile perspectives. I'm not sure where they came from, but they also see when a person does not have Torah, they try to reinvent things, right? And they try to get to the bottom of it. Like I heard them many times. People write to me. I'm trying to get to the truth. I said, how can you get to the truth without the Torah? It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Right, you can do your research. If you're going to live here minimum thousands of years, yeah, maybe you can get to something. But otherwise, you can get it quickly by learning Torah. So, and these people, these Gentiles and some heretic Jews, they like these Chabadniks, right? That they try to like fake Chabadniks. You see the kosher Chabad, this Lubavitcher, but he says very, very different things from what Menis Friedman is saying. It's very clear, right? So they try to rationalize based on their understanding. And something that sounds interesting, right? Sounds logical. So they say, oh, that must be true. Why it must be true? Because it sounds logical. Okay, so again, there is a certain Gentile perspective that which view God's existence dependent on the world. So meaning, if the world exists, Hashem exists. That's for sure, right? Right, as it were, comparing the relationship between Him and the world, existence between a body and a soul. So meaning, the body is the world, and Hashem is the soul of this world. So far, still it's a problem, as we said before. But according to their notion, just as soul cannot exist without body, so right, so meaning when body dies, soul goes out. Right, so God cannot exist without this world. So meaning the stupidity at its best. Okay, this perspective is totally untenable, right? So answer to Menis Friedman, all these clowns and clownesses, right? God who depends on other entities cannot be God. So meaning it's some being, right? We depend on many entities, right? We depend on our right. We have physical needs, so we depend on what is it? Atmosphere pressure. We depend on water being clean, not being clean, bacteria, no bacteria, all these things, right? Heart, that our heart is going to beat, right? All these things, right? All the organs are going to perform, but Hashem does not depend on anything. But if somebody or they say God with a lowercase g, right? It depends on other entities. He's not God. It's not our God. That's their God. Okay. Continue. On a deeper level, so meaning, right, to answer all of this, I'm not sure, like, again, all of the people who say things and repeat things that empty people, even though they call themselves Mishneh Torah, and many of them rabbis, they empty vessels, right? Reka, they call it Reka. Reka is empty. On a deeper level, Rambam statements emphasize that although God is a creator, so when we say creator, it's also like when we say creator, also like put some limitation on him. That dimension does not describe his being, right? It's just in my mind it describes some things that he does, but not his essence, not his being, and his existence is not at all dependent on whether the world come into being or not. So meaning it's one of the things that he did, creation, and that's it. So he was perfect without creation, and he decided to create the world for a benefit of the human beings, and that's it. So he can be existing before and after, and and without this world, and whether this world is going to follow his will or not, and he can. He has ways to straighten out the world, right? As we know from the time of flood. It comes into being. And his introduction to 10th chapter to Sanhedrin, in his commentary on the Mishnah, Rambam groups together the concept contained in this and the first two halachas, right? And the first principle, 13th principle, that Hashem is the only one, that was not nobody before him, nobody going to be after him, and even when everything is going to stop existing, so he's going to exist. So continue. Okay, so let me quickly read the sentence again, so we have continuation. So again, it's halacha number 3. If one would imagine that none of the entities aside from him, aside of Hashem, might exist, he alone would continue to exist, right? So meaning Hashem alone was going to exist. So even if you, again, how is it possible for us with a physical understanding of things, like not physical meaning, with understanding physical dimensions? I think it's impossible. Okay, right. So he alone would exist, and the nullification of all of existence, everything went to nothing, whatever it means, would not nullify his existence. Again, so he does not depend on anybody. So we just comment on this part. So now second part, because all of the other entities require him, right? And he, blessed be he, does not require any of them, none of them. So meaning nor none of them. So meaning Hashem does not depend on anybody, not on Jews' laws, on Torah, being holy, being not holy, absolutely nobody, right? Because he is perfect, right? But we, all of us, they require him very, very much. How often? Every second of our life. Not only when people in danger or something, but every second. And commentaries say he needs neither all of them as a whole, nor any one of them in particular. He exists independent of all existence. So meaning again, he needs neither all of them as a whole, right? No, he does not need anybody, nor any in particular. So meaning that somebody is better, somebody is worse, absolutely zero, right? And he exists independent of all existence. So I mean, very, very clear answer to all these clowns. And the last sentence, this halacha says, therefore, the truth of his being does not resemble the truth of any other being. So people usually draw conclusions based on what they know. I mean, when they learn halacha, yeah, that's if you know the concepts and you know how to apply them. Many times, if you learn a lot, if you have experience, yes, many times it's possible that even without learning that specific topic, you can come up with a right answer many times, not always, because we cannot know all of the details. Like for example, in our book, what is it, Varavna, right? So you see all the parallels that Rabbi Zilberstein Shlita and others, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal brings, like, and sometimes it's not so obvious for a simple us, right? Not so obvious. Okay. So again, we're going to comment that therefore his truth, right? So meaning his truth, Hashem truth, is not resemble our truth. So our truth, again, based on our limitation, right, of any other beings. Commentary. The basis of this statement, and halachas 1 through 4 in general, so in halacha number 3, is a concept of, meaning what? The term is translated literally, whose existence is obligatory. Whose existence is obligatory. It means to imply that God's existence is absolute, dependent on no other forces or entity outside of himself. Every creation came into being from absolute nothingness. Therefore, its existence is dependent on its creator. In a contrast, God never came into being. He is. Okay. Rambam calls this type of existence true because within the concept of our reality, truth can serve as a metaphor to express this concept. When an idea is true, be it simple mathematical equation like 2 plus 2 equal 4, or a complex concept of Einstein theory of relativity. It is a truth. Its truth does not depend on a man's perception of it. Right, so meaning truth is a truth. We understand or we agree, does not agree, it's absolutely irrelevant. The fact that someone declares 2 plus 2 equal 5, or that relativity waited 1,000 of years to be discovered, has no effect on the truth of the concept themselves. They true, regardless of whether the man grasps the truth or not. The truth of all worldly beings is limited. Okay, as we see, an entity, or it has a. I'm sorry. If we see an entity, or it has a physical being, which can be perceived through our senses, or given instrument. Given instrument it is. If not, 1 second, it does not exist. Right. Thus, the truth of its existence does not extend beyond the physical being. In a contrast, God's existence is essentially true. Our perception of Him, or our physical physical manifestation of His existence, is not at all relevant, and it's hard to all of the people to swallow it. Relevant to the truth of His being. He is because He is. Nevertheless, the truth of our world, the truths, right, of our world, is only metaphor of His truth, since they exist only within the concept of creation. If God had not desired to create the world in this manner, this truth would not exist. Okay, so we're going to go up to here, Bezras Hashem, tonight. So let's try to understand. So now we're trying to understand this line again. Therefore, if the truth of His being does not resemble the truth of any other being. So meaning Hashem does not have to explain Himself why He's doing anything, because He is truth, and his stamp is emes, right? It should the emes, and that's what it is. People understand it, good, right? At least accept, maybe understand it's a little higher level or very high level, but at least they accept it, good. If they do not accept it, it's absolutely irrelevant. His existence is still true, and it does not depend on our agreement or not agreement. So somebody would comment like on our videos, yes, you're right. I agree with you. So I did not make exactly this video based on you agree with me or not agree with me. You said it's smart or not smart. Okay, it's Torah. I teach you Torah. Like, and a little you to comment that you agree. So very, very arrogant. Of course, people do not make it do not comment in a sense that they're being arrogant. They try to say something positive, but sounds very arrogant. Right, truth of Torah, is it right? They agree with truth of the Torah. Right, nobody asked them basically. Very interesting. Okay, so let's go again from the beginning. It's a very interesting explanation. So these terms translates whose existence is obligatory. So existence is obligatory, meaning that without Hashem nothing is going to work. Right. So he's essential being. Right. It means to imply that God's existence is absolute, right? Again, what does absolute mean? Whether a person accepts it, does not accept it, agree, does not agree. Many people, I don't say many people have like the suggestions to God how to create a better world, right? But when I tell them that it's a perfect world, so meaning Hashem created perfect, people spoil it. But Hashem create everything perfect. Okay. So again, that means that to imply that God's existence is absolute, dependent on no other forces of entity outside of Himself. So Hashem, His existence absolute, that He does not need anybody, right? But many Friedman says otherwise, and His comrades, right? But here, other Chabadniks say, and actually it's our Jewish way to approach that it's absolutely wrong. Hashem does not depend on anybody, right? So, and again, here the main point, it's not like based on our agreement or not agreement. It's absolutely irrelevant. That's the fact. Every creation came into being from absolute nothingness. So, meaning, how can imagine nothingness? We cannot. Okay. But everything came from them. Therefore, its existence, it depends on His creator. So meaning the creation depends on its creator. So, and it's not independent because he sends nourishment to all of the creations, being living beings or not inanimate objects. It's absolutely irrelevant. Right, so all of us need nourishment, and we depend on Him. In a contrast, God never came into being, so mean He is. So, and this concept is for many people hard to swallow. So, because everything in this world, in this physical world, has some beginning. They may say a billion years, a trillion years ago, right? Okay, so this rock came into being. So, meaning it was beginning of this rock or this mountain or this river. Okay, but but we know that Hashem is right. He was never created, has for sure nothing. Okay, Rambam calls this type of existence shum. So meaning Hashem's existence shum, because within the concept of our reality, the truth can serve the metaphor expression this concept. So meaning something that is true does not depend on anybody, and it's not going to change. So that's brilliance of explanation of this Rambam. But the idea is true. It is simply mathematical equation like 2 plus 2 equal 4. So like even if somebody, like for example a little baby, did not know that 2 plus 2 equal 4 does not change the equation. For example, you talk to a little baby, they just learn the digits, and you say how 2 plus 2, how much is it 2 plus 2? He would say 8. He said 7, whatever he came to his mind, right? That's what he says, right? But does not, just because he does not know how much 2 plus 2 does not change the reality, does not change the truth, or Einstein theory of relativity, right? It was always there. So all of these things Hashem put into creation, right? It's always there. The truth does not depend on the man's perception of it. So just because they discovered it many at some specific time or period of time of history, does not mean that it was discovered. It was not existent. It was always existed. Like we said today in our answer about this what is it? New materials like silicon and others. There were always that was put in Hashem's in His creation. His creation. You just need to know how to get it, but it was always there. So it was not created from nothing. Right. So again, truth does not depend on a man's perception of it. So whether they know it does not, it's absolutely irrelevant. And for a majority of the people, it's hard to swallow. Because why? Because of the arrogance. Because the arrogance, if I do not know, it's not true. Oh yeah, right? That's what many people think. The fact that someone declares 2 plus 2 equals 5, or relatively waited 1,000 years to be discovered, right, has not affected on the truth of the concept themselves. So meaning that they can say whatever they want, the concept does not change. The truth does not change, but sometimes because when people, one person says saying, another says saying, many people get confused and they go along, and it's absolutely wrong. But right, that's why we have Torah. Right? We have Torah, and we know what the truth, the emes is, and what is not. They are true, meaning this concept, regardless of whether man grasps their truth or not. So I mean, absolutely irrelevant if somebody agrees to it or does not agree to it. The truth of all worldly beings is limited. The truth of all worldly beings is limited, meaning it's limited in the sense of our intellect, what we can comprehend, what we cannot comprehend. Right? If we see an entity that has a physical being, which can be perceived through our senses, or a given instrument, it is. So meaning, if we can see something like with our senses, maybe we can hear it like some music, for example, right? Or we see some color or something, or even through the instrument. So what is with a microscope, with a telescope, right? So now we see it, so then it exists. So that's our limitation. So with our senses, with 5 senses. Right? If not, it does not exist. So if since I don't know, the more powerful telescope or microscope was not discovered, so if a person does not see it, so I mean it's not there. So that's what people think, or they say Leviathan is not there. So how do you know? Yeah, if somebody would spot it. Okay, so that's what you say. But the ocean is huge, right? So Torah says it is there. So I mean it is there. We'll continue. If not, right, it does not exist, right? So meaning, right. So if they cannot perceive it, it does not exist. The truth is, the existence does not extend beyond the physical being. Thus, the truth of its existence does not extend beyond the physical being. So if they can see, it is exist. Does not. In a contrast, God's existence is essentially true. So it does not depend on any of these physical elements. Right? Our perception of Him, or a physical manifestation of His existence, so how we understand Him, or how we can see Him through some natural things, right, from our nature, is not at all relevant to the truth of his being. So when people say, if God exists, let there be rain. If God exists because he asked them, he talked to him, he cried to them, so now he wants this and this, or she wants to this and this happen. Right? And if it is not going to happen, that then the Hashem does not exist. Chas v'shalom. Right? So Hashem is true, he is emes, does not depend on how people agree to that, not agree to that. He is because he is. He is because he is, meaning does not depend on anything. Nevertheless, the truth of this world, of our world, are only metaphors to his truth. Nevertheless, the truth of this world are only metaphors for his truth, since they exist only within the concept of creation. So all of this truth, concept of creation, meaning Hashem declared the rules to the nature. So our truth is only depends on what Hashem created for us, right? If the God had never desired to create the world in this manner, the truth would not exist. So meaning if Hashem would not desire to create the world, meaning that 2 plus 2 is equal 4, right? Or this theory of relativity, right? So still the truth do not exist. So this truth, this concept that we perceive as like solid in this world only exist because Hashem put them in his creation. But his existence does not depend on any of this, which is amazing. Okay, so I think we can stop this book here.